All right, guys, here we go. Today we're going to be talking about point-slope form of an equation. So we're going to be using problems that gives us both a sample point and a rate of change. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first example. We have at Eagle Bay, it costs $10 per hour to rent a canoe. Nick and his friends rented a canoe for 3 hours and paid $45. 3 hours, paid $45. That's important. Write and solve a linear equation to find the cost to rent the canoe for 8 hours. Okay, and real quick, it costs $10 per hour to rent a canoe. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start labeling information that I know. And I know the rate of change that they gave us is $10 per hour, or 10 over 1. Either way you have it is fine. The sample point that we get is for 3 hours, they paid $45. The other thing that we are required to do is label our x variable and label our y variable. What's nice is the sample point here can help us to come up with that. So for our sample point, we can use what x represents here. So x was hours, and 45 is your total cost. So it wants us to write and solve a linear equation. And so to come up with our linear equation, we're going to make sure that it is in slope-intercept form, like we did on our first day of story problem notes. So using this information, I need to find b. So I'm going to just start real quick on this first one, that our goal is to put it into slope-intercept form. And we need to solve for b. We need to figure what that is. And so I'm going to go ahead and put 45 in for y, 10 in for m, 3 in for x, and solve for b. So this is the same stuff that we did not too long ago, but now there's a story problem involved. So 45 minus 30 is 15, and we have our b. Our last step, we'll just put it into that equation. Y equals 10x plus 15. Okay. Now the last thing that we're going to do is figure out how much it costs to rent for 8 hours. So instead of writing x, we're going to put in 8 for x for the 8 hours, simplify and solve. So 10 times 8 is 80. 80 plus 15, $95. Okay. So that's it for example number 1. Let's move on to example number 2. So for example number 2, we have a construction company charges $15 per hour for debris removal plus a one-time fee. Here, let me underline this. This is $15 per hour for debris removal plus a one-time fee for the use of the trash dumpster. The total fee for 9 hours of service was $195. We're going to write and solve a linear equation to find the one-time fee for the trash dumpster. Okay, so we're looking actually for just our equation. So let's go ahead and start by writing down information that we do know. We know slope. Slope is $15 per hour. Okay. That's our rate of change, so hopefully you remember dollars per hour is our rate of change. The sample point that they give us is $9 for 195. I'm sorry, 9 hours for $195. We're going to label our x and our y. Our x, and this is what's nice, you can use that point to help you, hours. Y is the total cost. The next thing that we're going to do is create that equation. So it will be in y equals mx plus b form. That's our goal. We know y. Y is 195. M is 15. X is 9. And we're solving for b. 9 times 15 is 135. We'll subtract 135 from both sides. And so we get 60 is equal to b. So my equation is y equals 15x plus 60. The one-time fee for the trash dumpster. Now, to be able to show work, so that's what we need to talk about, is if you are required to show work. Okay, this is before we are using any hours for debris removal. So before we use any hours, $15 times 0, and so y is $60. So again, it's easy to see that initial value, that one-time fee from our equation, but again, it's also important to be able to show work to justify your answer. Okay? We'll do 3 next time I see you in class. Okay? Let's flip it over. And on the back, what we have here are 2 points. Okay? So if the problem gives us 2 sample points, we're going to label that as x1, comma, y1, and x2, comma, y2. So let's go ahead and do the first 2. So for number 4, to surf the internet for 25 minutes at an internet cafe, it costs $7.25. That'll be 1 sample point. For 40 minutes, it costs $9.80. That'll be our second sample point. Okay, so let's go ahead and start writing that out, our sample points. So like I said, the first one is 25 minutes for $7.25. Then the next sample point is 40 minutes for $9.80. We don't know what m is, so we will be solving for m here shortly. We're going to go ahead and label x and y before we get started. Remember how x coordinate on both of these represents minutes? So that's very helpful for when we have to label our x. And y represents our total cost. Now the next thing I'm going to do is find my slope. To find my slope, we're going to remember that is the rate of change. Change of y over the change of x. I'm going to use the sample point, so I'm going to go ahead and do $7.25 minus $9.80 over 25 minus 40. When I do that, I get $2.55, negative $2.55 over negative 15. We're going to keep simplifying this so we get a nice value to work with, and that is 17/100ths. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is find our b to put it into y equals mx plus b form. So when I do this, I'm going to pick one of these points. I'm going to go ahead and pick the first point. So I'm going to put 25 in for y, 17/100ths in for m, and $7.25 in for x. And then we start simplifying. 17/100ths times, you know what, I thought I did this backwards. I put the values in the wrong place. I'm grabbing my white out real quick so I can fix that for you guys. So I like the pen the way it shows up so well on here, but when I make a typo, it's not so great. So I apologize. Fix that typo for you. And there we go. So 17 hundredths times 25, that is $4.25 plus B. We subtract that from both sides. And we get B to equal 3. Okay, so just going to kind of organize my work here. And my equation is y equal, going back, 17 hundredths x plus 3. So box that in. That's important for us for grading. And then the last thing is they want to know how much it costs for 1 hour. We're going to remember 1 hour is 60 minutes. So making that conversion when necessary. So instead of writing x, we'll go ahead and write in 60. And to keep simplifying, we get $13.20. Okay. Then number 5, and this will be the last one for our notes today. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. The weather forecaster says it'll be 25 degrees Celsius today. Write and solve a linear equation to find what Fahrenheit temperature that is. So let's start by writing out our 2 sample points. Our first one is 100 and 212. Our second one is 0 and 32. We're going to label our x, which is Celsius, and our y, which is Fahrenheit. Then the last thing we're going to do is find slope. Change a y over the change of x. So I'm going to go ahead and do 212 minus 32 over 100 minus 0. When I simplify, I get 180 over 100. And I'm going to go ahead and keep simplifying to 9/5. That's our slope that we're going to use today. The next thing I'm going to do is solve for B. So I'm using the B from slope-intercept form. Pick a sample point. I'm going to go ahead and pick the easier one. So I'm going to put 32 in for y, 9/5 in for m, 0 in for x. 9/5 times 0, 32 equals B. Now I'm going to write that equation. Y equals, my slope is 9/5, x plus 32. Okay. Then the last thing I'm going to do is go ahead and figure out what it is when Celsius is 25 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and put 25 in for x and simplify. When it's all said and done, y equals 77 degrees Fahrenheit. You do need to be putting these labels on like I did on these story problems. All right, that's it for these notes. We'll do 3 and 6 next time I see you in class. Have a great rest of your day.